This is one of the most closely monitored borders in the world, and it has a big problem with secret humanitarian workers. I travelled across the Jordanian Palestinian land border at the King Hussein Bridge a few weeks ago. To me, what was shocking wasn't when volunteer humanitarian workers told me they were being turned back at the border for being honest about their plans. It was some of the lies these humanitarian workers were telling, which allowed them to get past Israeli security. My journey began in Jordan's capital city of Amman. Jordan is now home to more Palestinians than the Gaza Strip, with over 2 million registered Palestinian refugees, making up about 1 in 5 of the total population. The Queen of Jordan is Palestinian, as is her son, the Crown Prince, who is considered the 42nd generation direct descendant of the founder of Islam, the Prophet Muhammad. It's perhaps unsurprising then that popular support for Palestine is so high in the neighbouring country. In the hostel I stayed at, I noticed some signs on the community board saying things like, "It's called Palestine, not Israel," and offering outdated options for crossing the border. I asked one of the workers there if the crossing was still possible. He told me it was, but that many get denied. It's impossible to avoid talk of the conflict here. Many who I found were volunteer humanitarian workers. They say if you tell the Israeli border police you're a humanitarian worker attempting to enter Palestine, they will deny you. So they talk about what stories to give which will allow them to pass through. The most popular is saying you're going to Tel Aviv to party, followed by saying you're going to Jerusalem for religious or historical reasons. One hostel worker mentions an American woman named Ella who passed through a few days prior and went as far as stashing beers in her bag in preparation for her luggage being searched. No small feat in a Muslim majority country like Jordan. Another traveller, a Canadian doctor called Ben, tells me he tried the crossing the day before but was denied entry when border forces found out his background. He told me he would try again in a week's time and some of the questions I was likely to face. Where are you going in Israel? How long will you stay? What's the purpose of your visit? Who do you know here? And what are your thoughts about the current conflict? I told one of the hostel workers, a young Palestinian man named Sam, that I was a journalist, and he helped me prepare for the crossing, what to say, where to go, and how much each part of the journey would cost. He told me, basically none of the travellers passing through the hostel were being honest at the borders. The next morning, I made my way to the North Amman bus station. From here, you can travel anywhere in Jordan, the ancient city of Petra or coastal Aqaba, 4 hours south. However, buses are no longer running to the King Hussein border crossing, practically the only gateway between the Palestinian West Bank and the outside world, and a mere 50 minutes drive away. The border is sporadically opened and closed depending on volatility levels. In mid-September, the crossing was ordered to be indefinitely closed after a Jordanian national travelling in a humanitarian aid truck killed 2 Israeli soldiers at the border crossing. Hamas's armed wing, the Qassam Brigades, claimed responsibility for the shooting. A year prior, in September 2024, the border was again temporarily closed after a Jordanian citizen opened fire on Israeli security forces, killing 3 Israeli citizens. With buses out, I share a taxi with 2 others. Ali, a Jordan Palestinian man hoping to return to the West Bank to visit family, and Fabian, a Swiss volunteer heading to Jericho. Fabian told me he had made the trip 3 times before. His advice? Just say what they want to hear. Don't talk too much. When we reach the border, crowds gather outside and rejected Western travellers drift back towards Amman, trailing bags. Inside, Fabian and I pay the exit tax and board the shuttle bus that runs between the Jordanian and Israeli terminals. The border itself is the Jordan River, a small stream made famous for being the site of the baptism of Jesus Christ 2,000 years ago. The difference is instantly recognisable on the Israeli side. We pass through several checkpoints of high, strong fencing with barbed wire, overlooked by watchtowers with Israeli flags hanging everywhere. Arriving at the Israeli side on the border, Westerners are quickly ushered into a VIP line, while the queue for Arab travellers stretched for hours in the baking desert sun. Fabian is placed in a different line to me and I don't see him for the remainder of the border crossing. At my customs booth, the questions start. What do you know about the conflict? In Australia, they have the protests. What do you think when you see them? What do your friends think about the conflict? You have anti-Semitism in Australia. What do you think when you see that? At the end, my passport is stamped and I arrived at the terminal where buses run to nearby Jericho. I had reached Palestine.